Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Evie's Gardens, or Gardens of Evie, I should say. I'm happy to be with you here again on another Thursday afternoon. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been here with you, and the reason for that is that big changes have happened in my life lately. Chris and I finally tied the knot recently on the 5th of October, and then we had a little time to ourselves, which was absolutely wonderful. Really good to take a break and just have some introspection and downtime and not be pushing ourselves a million miles an hour. Because you know how this crazy world is, right? It doesn't really give you a break. So grateful for that. Absolutely grateful for that. But I definitely missed our time together, and I'm grateful to be back here with you. For anybody just joining this channel or flicking this program on for the first time, my name is Evie. I'm here to talk about all sorts of things, including, but not limited to, farming, homesteading, gardening, projects of that nature, but also I like balancing that out with more introspective, spiritual things sometimes, sort of trying to imagine a better world and thinking about how to orient my life so that I can get to that place and create a better world for my kids and those that come after me. And so I care a lot about being in integrity with whatever I'm called to do in this life. And so if you feel similarly, come and join me on this journey. It's an evolving sort of podcast, which is featuring our little homestead here in Massachusetts, Chris Martinson and I, and detailing some of our adventures here, some of our projects, are the things that have gone really well and the things that have not been so awesome as well. It's going to entail a whole lot of that. And we're in the process, as you can probably see behind me, of changing up our studio. While we were away, there was a wonderful friend of ours named Norm, and also some people on our team, Nick and Aaron and Barry, who are all helping us redo our studio because we had a black background for a really long time. And then when I was doing my program, I was changing it, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, we're going to set it up so I have my own space. Chris has his own space, and we can do interviews and all sorts of things together or with other people, and we don't have to rearrange the furniture every single time we do that. So bear with me. If it looks different, it's because it's in transition, and will be completed shortly, I'm sure. But for now, behind me is live Edgewood from our land, which I think is so incredibly awesome to have wood that was cut on our property and milled on our sawmill and then transferred into our interior. And it just feels really warm and good. This is mostly hemlock behind me and a couple other pieces of pine, I think. But it just, I don't know, it adds something to the room that wasn't here before, and I'm really appreciating that. So, how are you? How are you doing? How have your last 2 weeks been? What's new in your life? How's your day been? How's your heart been? I know that we're at a really critical and interesting time in our country's history, for sure, if not the world. And so there's so much happening so fast that it feels really hard to hold on to the details and investigate things that you might be curious about in the moment. I find it incredibly challenging sometimes to just keep up and feel like I know what other folks are talking about, or I honestly don't even have a desire most of the time to keep up with it, because a lot of what I consider the news to be these days is just, I don't know, it feels sort of like pollution. It's not necessarily something that benefits my soul to know about, although of course there are things that you don't want to be caught off guard um, on. And I think preparing for the worst, hoping for the best is where Chris and I find ourselves these days. And so the topic I want to talk to you about today, amongst other things, is I want to share a little sort of vignette of our time together while we were away, just kind of a part one, I think, of a two-part series, but I wanted to share sort of a little bit of our adventures and talk about what that was like. But, more importantly, I am reflecting, of course, on just getting married and what that means. And both of us have kids from other relationships. And so there's a lot of blending that, formally has happened. And I'm in the process of just thinking about what it means now to finally sort of be in that place that I've seen myself in with Chris for a really long time. And I'm just feeling so settled and so good. And I want to share that with you because I feel like there aren't so many good stories out there in the world right now. And I want to share my joy with you in the hopes that it translates to inspiring you or helping you to know that there are good things happening out there in the world. Um, but I found this on X, where a saying that I wanted to share with you, which this I think is the place where most news is found these days. I don't know where you get your news. I don't know where you listen to current events, if it's on the radio or if you turn on the TV or if you're a reader. Um, but Twitter, formerly or X, formerly known as Twitter, seems to be the best place to get sort of news that's quick and easy to understand, and it's not unbiased, but you at least see the various sides that it's coming from, and you can ascertain for yourself um, what someone's intentions might be and motivations behind sharing something. And I find that it's a great place for public discourse to happen. Of course, coming up so close to the election, I think that um, it's important that we all sort of have an awareness of what's going on and know how to support one another. And if there is an opportunity to get the truth out there about lots of things, including the fallout from these mRNA things that we all endured, etc., I think X is a place where that's all breaking right now. Apparently, Bill Gates is now going to be held liable in the Netherlands by a court who is indicting him for some of his crimes that they are considering his crimes for not advising people about some of the dangers involved with those things I just mentioned, and lots of other news like that. So when I go onto Twitter, I'm able to assimilate information really quickly, and it's becoming a place where I think the true narrative is leaking out and I'm able to see real things happening. Whereas if I watched mainstream media or legacy media, I would have a really hard time articulating what was happening or trying to make sense of it in the big picture of things. And there are a lot of really wonderful independent journalists on Twitter that have just gone ahead and taken the time to really break things down. Of course, Chris Martinson, my husband, is one of those people. Ian Carroll. I mean, there are so many people who are just digging at stories that the mainstream media doesn't want to touch. So if you don't have, I'm certainly not advocating for people to be on their screens more because I think technology is robbing us of some of our precious lifetime here on this earth. But if you do need a place to find out what's going on, I think Twitter is as good a place as any. And I think it ranks among the top unbiased sources you can have. So I found this when I was searching the other day, and I liked it, and I wanted to share it with you. This person said, actually, there are two things I need to share with you. One is 20 years from now, you'd give anything to be this exact age, exactly this healthy, and back in this exact moment. Now take a second to enjoy it now. That's by Rich Webster. And another one that says, a soul who has healed countless traumas alone and still carries a pure heart is not just any person. They are an alchemist of life's pain, turning it into strength. They are pure magic. And the one that is sort of pertains to what I want to share with you today says, marry the girl with the messy childhood, the one who has experienced tremendous suffering from those she loved, yet chose to heal and rebuild herself. She'll challenge you to do better and call you out on your BS, but she will love you and your children like nothing you've known. I found that inspiring because that was in part a little bit of my background when I was growing up. So let's dive right in here and I'll show you where we've been these past few weeks. Here we go. All right, so these are our grapes. We had a really good harvest this year. It was a little bit crazy because at the time that we were trying to get ready to get married, we were also harvesting things in our garden and trying to clean things up as best we could before we left. But our grapes were just too delicious to let fall to the ground and go back into the soil. So we did what we could. I think these are like 5-year, 5th-year grapes, maybe a little more because when we got them, they weren't just tiny, tiny babies. Um, and we picked a whole bunch of them. And I have this wonderful thing that it's a steamer that essentially the grape juice, the hot steam comes up through and sort of desiccates the fruit or vegetables or whatever you put in there. And then the juice from those, explodes out of the cells and comes down and gets caught in this pan. And it just has a tube that you open and put into sterilized jars. And it couldn't be easier. I did a lot of apple freeze drying, which seemed important because our trees were just beautiful this year, um, compared to the year before where we had a snap frost. So we have tons of freeze dried apples, which I love. They're delicious, actually. And that was a big push. Here's our grape juice, what it looked like in jars when it was all done. And what I want to bring you to is our event, although ironically, I don't have pictures of the two of us dressed up yet because I didn't have my phone on me. Chris didn't have his phone on him. And then we asked people not to take photographs during the ceremony because we wanted them to be really present with us. And so it jumps around a little bit in that regard. And I think as soon as I get some of those photographs, I'll have them and I'll share a few with you if you're interested. But I just wanted to kind of bring you into that day with us for a moment. It was incredibly beautiful. Here's a picture of our farm, looking out on it. Behind this, whoever's taking this picture, which happens to be me, is our house. Um, and right looking forward, you can see our cows kind of off in the distance. And we just had a beautiful day that day. Here are our cows eating some of the round bale. We had to pull them off um, most of their pasture. We also didn't want to be walking in poop. And we decided to have a big tent put up on our property. And these are our miniatures as well as our larger ones. It's kind of hard to see because that little guy right there, or girl, is in front. Oh, no, that's a guy. Sorry. He's in front of one of our Belted Galloways. So it looks like they're similar in size, but they're really not. He's much smaller um, than the lady auntie in the background. But our cows were hanging out with us that day, which was really special and fun. We had a number of folks come, and I can't say enough about this, but we were so blessed to have a community that came and rallied. So we had a very smallish wedding. We had about 50 people. There were some that couldn't make it, etc. But it was just a beautiful size. It was nice and small and intimate. And on that really lovely day, we had lots of friends that came early and helped us pitch in. I mean, I don't even think I could list them all. Maureen and Ro and Sarah and um, just so many, so many, so many people. And it was Tracy, another one. I mean, so many folks that came and helped. And I'm so grateful for their help because it was a lot to pull together in the last minute. And more than that, I just didn't want to be stressed out trying to pull it all together and make sure everyone had what they needed. So it was great to have people willing to step in and do whatever needed doing. Here's a picture of the tent and what we ended up going with. It's definitely got a rustic kind of farm feel with the wood and the white. It's one of those sail tents, but it doesn't look so plasticky, I guess. Really appreciated being able to rent this and having people that came and put it up and took it down, and I didn't have to deal with that, which was really nice. And then instead of renting all these things, we didn't do tablecloths because we got tables that were really beautiful, just natural wood. And instead of going with whatever, renting plates and all sorts of stuff, I just found a bunch of, and my friends helped me with this too. We found a bunch of china, and I bought china whenever I could at like secondhand stores. And most of the time you can get it for real cheap because it's not a full set. So it was like 3 of this plate and 4 of that. And So I got dinner plates and dessert plates of these sweet, like china patterns. It was just really nice. And it had this eclectic kind of farm chic feel, which was fun. There is my groom. I guess he had some photographs taken by the tractor. I haven't seen those yet, but the tractor got all decked out in preparation for that. And that was before I came back, um, before the ceremony started. Actually, I wasn't on the property yet. This is me and my two beautiful daughters. The one next to me, the eldest, her name is Jade, and the littlest one is Aurelia. And they were both going to walk me down the aisle, except unfortunately, my eldest daughter sprained her ankle last minute and was on crutches. So we decorated her crutches. We tried to make it as nice of a event for her as we could in terms of her not having to be on her feet. And my youngest walked me down the aisle, and it was so beautiful and special. Very, very moving, and a long time in the making, I think, which was what made it all the more just beautiful. This is the arch that Norm made. Again, this is another piece of wood that comes from our property. And in the future, we actually just poured a pad that we're going to be putting our sawmill on because we want to be able to mill as much as our own wood as we can to build the structures that we need here at Honey Badger Farm. And it's so special to have, this is wood that cherry that we had on our property, and I think it was maple as well. Um, just beautiful, beautiful that Chris had milled a while back, and Norm was able to put that to use and created this beautiful arch that we get to keep in our garden. He stained it, and then friends of mine pulled flowers together, Veronica and Ro and Tracy, and helped me make this cohesive kind of look with flowers that grew out of my garden, for the most part, and plants that we could find here on the property, and of course substituted a few things, but it was so perfect. Here's a picture of Chris and two of his three children. That's Erica, his daughter, on one side, and on the other is Simon. I'm sure you can see the resemblance. They all look related. We got some really nice family pictures, which is always such a pleasure to have. This is the only picture I think I have of me partway dressed up. You can't see the whole thing, but looking down the table, those are also Chris's two kids on the left, and then my two girls on the other side, and my daughter's partner Ty in the picture, and then some of our friends back down at the end there. But it was just beautiful weather, perfect, perfect fall, crisp, not too hot, not too cool, just lovely day, lovely, lovely. And so we hung around, we had the ceremony. Grace and Terry officiated, so we had a man and a woman marrying us, which was really special because we got to have sort of the masculine and the feminine represented, which means a lot to me, actually, to have. I feel like both men and women bring different things to the table, and I wanted both of those energies present there. And so they collaborated and made this absolutely beautiful ceremony for us. And we exchanged crosses, actually, blessed them for each other and put them around one another, in addition to like our, a ring exchange and so forth. But it was absolutely beautiful. Our kids did some readings. It was just perfect. And this is my daughter Aurelia playing with a sparkler at the end of the day. We had a little fire in the field. We decided against kind of taking off that night and just took a breath and hung out with everybody that had managed to make it, which I think I would absolutely do all over again. It was great to see our friends who had come out from far away, Jeff and Tom. And I mean, so many people had traveled a great distance to be with us. And it was quality time at that point. It was really nice to just be around a fire with folks and catch up a little bit. Here's a picture of us. I was so tired by that point in the day, but somebody gave me a really good tip. Somebody in the Peak Prosperity tribe said, Evie, you need like a doula who can help you remind you of what's happening as you're going through this experience so you don't get pulled off center and stressed out or distracted and not take care of yourself. And so I had a number of my friends that were really good at that, um, Grace among them, and it was great to sort of experience this really, really special thing with my closest women friends, and I'll never forget it. I feel really supported and loved, and that's such a I know it sounds simple, but for me and where I came from in my life, having a community of people around me that really sees me for who I am and loves me for who that is and is excited and celebrating the love that I've found in my life, it's so refreshing and it's so different from what I have previously experienced. And it's lovely. It feels really good. So we just had like the perfect day. I couldn't have asked for more. So the next day we got up and had breakfast and then we took off to go down to the coast. And one of the things we thought that we were weighing what to do at the time because we weren't sure whether we wanted to plan a honeymoon that took us out of the country. You know, all things considering with the way things have been going in this country. Like, do we really want to risk getting caught somewhere if, God forbid, something does go down that's sketchy? Like, who knows? And being away from our farm in that way didn't feel super good to either of us. So we thought about where we might want to go, and we both love the ocean. And I spent a lot of time there when I was in high school, fishing and playing around, just running around the salt marshes down in Rhode Island. So I grew up in Smithfield, and so it was awesome to. We went to Westport, and it was near some really beautiful spots. Of course, Newport's not all that far away if you wanted to travel a little bit. Um, and particularly love this little town, Little Compton, which I guess is kind of like a posh, rich town. Like I would never be able to afford to have lived there, but it has just sweet, small town, little sort of docks and marinas, and everybody knows each other. And I mean, the properties there now with my adult eyes, I look at them and I just see like billions of dollars. I'm like, how do people even afford to live here at all? It's like, you know, on the coast in some parts of Connecticut as well. It's just very, very well to do. But it was utterly beautiful here. And so we just had such a good tour. This is a little house we got as an Airbnb for the week. And when we walked out onto the porch, this is what we saw. So we were right on the beach. And the bonus of this was that we got perfect weather for the wedding. And then we got perfect weather again for the next week while we were here at the ocean. And it was sunny, warm days, cool nights, but just perfect. Like nothing too extreme, not that cold, rainy, wet that you can sometimes get in October, which I don't always love and can be difficult when you're trying to travel and you're outside a whole lot of the time. And so when we were there were still like bees and butterflies and there were flowers still blooming on the beach, but clearly it was off season. So it felt like we had this private spot all to ourselves for the most part, which was amazing. Here's another picture just from the porch. It was just such a sweet little thing. And if you can see in the distance, there's a sort of a spit of land out there that's Horseneck Beach. And so we just had this wonderful walk we could do all along the shoreline and go up around that little spit and come back down. And I mean, lots of people frequented that. I think it was a wonderful sort of recreation area, which was nice. You know, saw a lot of families and pets and people walking, but it was really very beautiful there and quiet. This is us in a restaurant we went to. It was just, I kept pinching myself. Like, I can't believe we did it. Like, we're married. Here we are. Like, you're my husband. This is wild. I don't know why it's taken a while for it to sink in, but we got to appreciate some nice restaurants. However, on that note, I should say, when instead of doing a cake, we ended up having pies, it just felt like it went with what we were doing and being on the farm. And instead of trying to have one giant cake, we just had lots of different types of pies, which I thought was fun. And of course, it's our wedding. So I'm like, Chris and I are both doing keto. I'm like, you know what? Let's just cheat this one time. Like, I'll feed you a piece of pie, you feed me a piece, or whatever we want to do for, that part of the evening. And so that's what we did because we got these amazing, delicious, like blueberry pie from, a local farm shop. It was, oh, so good. But because we had been doing keto for so long, we the minute we took that into our system, like this massive inflammation happened. And so by the time we were at the ocean, both of us were just feeling like sausages, like totally bloated and awful. And I can't believe how quick all those things, those inflammatory responses that the body has to things like seed oils and sugar and a lot of the preservatives that are in our processed foods. Man, I can't believe how quickly they kick in and make you feel like dog poop. Like, I just couldn't believe how bad my body hurt. I thought maybe it was because I was on my feet all day at the wedding, but my back was sore for like a week and a half. I mean, there was a day when we were at this ocean where I was like, I don't know if I can even walk on this beach. Like, it hurt so bad just to move. And so it kind of became an important thing for us. I was glad we did that because you know how sometimes you start doing something and you forget why you're doing it. Like, it doesn't seem like such a big deal anymore, especially if you're not having symptoms that prompt you to continue whatever it is. And so we've been feeling much better since we've been doing more keto, carnivore-ish dieting. We just had to strip all of the carbs out that we could because both of us were feeling really lousy. And it seems like a legit place to start based on everything we've been hearing about our food system and what's in it and on and on. And so we've been doing that for several months now, but it was just shocking to remember and recommit really to our lifestyle changes, which I think we're going to be doing even more of. Both Chris and I think are going to do a 90-day carnivore diet where we don't have any keto friendly anything. We just go purely with probably beef, I think, and salt and maybe pepper. But then we gradually add things in just to see what's irritating our system. Because you never know. I mean, there's crazy stuff out there. Like, the keto that they sell you at the grocery or not keto, kefir, excuse me, that you can buy at the grocery store that's supposed to be good for your whole gut system. Um, when it's supposed to just nourish your microbiome. Well, it turned out according to an article I read the other day, when they tested that, like I think 14 out of 16 brands or something that they found in the grocery stores actually had no bifidobacteria in them. And so a lot of the prebiotic and probiotic things that they're claiming these drinks and these foods don't actually have any of that stuff in it. And I think it's just a testament to how judicious we need to be about finding out where things come from and what's in what we eat. And so I don't trust anything anymore. I guess I'm at that point. Do you guys ever feel that way? I can't imagine I'm alone in this. Because I feel like the more I wake up, the more I realize everything that I've been told that's complete bullshit. And I I know that I can't be the only one this is happening to. I mean, right down to like, I'm not sure what they told me in my history class was accurate about what happened preceding certain large world events. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't trust the data I have based on who's bought what. And I don't know. People just aren't incentivized to tell the truth necessarily unless, their financial incentives align with that. So this is my honey. He is a fisherman, and we ended up going to a bait and tackle store, and we needed a new rod because we lost one when we were shad fishing um, on one of our rivers several years ago now. And so we ended up just getting a rod and throwing it in. And we found this really nice guy, Cody, who was willing to talk to us all about the local places to go and check this out and search here and try this bait. And he was fantastic. And Chris ended up catching a couple of tautog, which are these apparently super delicious, like tastiest fish ever. But they have these weird lips. I wish I had a picture of them. And they almost look like human lips, and their teeth look like human teeth. Like it is the weirdest looking thing. It looks all wrong. Like I don't know how to explain it, but he had he caught two. It was really fun. And I don't have that picture here because it's a video, but I didn't want to try and do that this minute. This is what the grasses looked like there. You know, all that like the sand dunes and the grasses, and there was tons of goldenrod there blowing in the wind. It was just oh so beautiful. Here's the two of us running around. We would take walks every day and just enjoy watching, you know, birds and listening for insects that we could hear. We made friends with a seagull. I saw the seagull when we were out on the shore, and he had a piece of fishing line stuck around his knee, like in his leg, and you could tell that he was limping a little bit and not like with the group of seagulls because he just couldn't move very fast. And anyhow, Chris was amazing. He actually tempted the seagull over with some french fries we had, and then just without looking at him at all, just reached over and like eventually like grabbed him after sort of luring him as close as he could with food. And then he was able to unwrap that, and the bird hopefully is doing much better now without fishing line, like cutting off all his circulation. But it was so much fun. And oops, of course, if you're a beachcomber, you know that it's just fun to walk after the tide's gone out and look at what, you know, the ocean has brought you. We found bones of fish that people had, I think, caught and then thrown the carcasses out after cleaning them, and um, horseshoe crabs. And I found this beautiful mollusk. It was the spiral shell. It was huge, like a conch shell, kind of, but not quite as elaborate. I guess it's in the conch family, probably, but amazing things that we were able to see along the way. And this was a beach, um, the one I particularly love and remember from when I was a youngster. This is Little Compton, and it has these pebble shaped rocks that grind everything down into like I've noticed that things that are tossed in the ocean, of course, get tossed about and changed. And I love to pick up sea glass. It's just something I've always enjoyed. I think my eyes like the pattern recognition, so I can pick things out really easily with my eyes when I'm walking. And I just love finding treasures like that. And then it's fun to play with them and make jewelry or do different things with them. I've done all sorts of stuff with them in the past. And so I found that on certain beaches, and I don't know why this is, except I imagine it has to do with the currents and where these pieces of glass are traveling from and how they're getting worn down. But in the places like this that had really round rocks, I noticed that the sea glass just got worn much more smoothly. And we're just, oh, just, I found so much sea glass. It was absolutely beautiful. I think I'm going to throw it into our rock tumbler and see if I can get it even more finished. Here's a piece of green glass that I found. And I think I want to do something with them. It just felt really fun to gather them. And the whole time I was there, I was just, I don't know, it's very meditative for me when I'm doing something like that. It just felt prayerful. And I think because I didn't have a bunch of things at our house pulling at us to do, which on the farm there's just endless things going on. There's not really a good time to sit and reflect. My mind just naturally kind of wandered, and I prayed for everybody I know and love, and I prayed for our world. I prayed for our leaders. It just was so good to just have this really long communication with Creator, and I felt so much better afterward. It was so good to have that time. Here's Chris hanging out on the beach. I loved watching him reconnect with sort of his boyhood joy of fishing. I've seen it, you know, over the years here and there. Like we've gone fishing in creeks and things for trout. We've, of course, been fishing for shad. on the Connecticut River, which is really fun when they come up from the ocean. I'm a fisher woman. Um, haven't done it in a long while because I don't live close to the sea anymore, but when I did, I used to be there all the time and fish for flounder and all sorts of stuff, blue crab, blah, blah, blah. And so it was just really awesome to see him in his element and to be able to do it myself. There's a picture of me fishing, and we saw some of the prettiest sunsets while we were there too. I don't know if it was just the ocean or the weather or both, but the wide open sky, oh, it's just absolutely stunningly beautiful. And so there are lots of moments that we would just find a cozy rock to cuddle up on and sit there and just throw a line in and see what happened. And it didn't really matter whether we caught something or not. It was just the experience of it all. It was really a lot of fun. And then towards the end of our time there, the last couple of days, we ended up meeting a family, a father and his two children, and we were down in this. It was like a inlet where I I think it might have been fresh water flowing through, so it was somewhat brackish, but there was a bridge going over like a large body of water that I think trickled into other salt marshes, so it was probably salt. Yeah, it was probably brackish, but um it was an awesome place to put in like a chicken leg, and I fished for blue crab, and that's what I have here in this picture. He's about to pinch me. I don't know if you can see. um and so we just fished off the dock, which was a whole lot of fun, and it was great to sort of get to know these other people too and to hear about what it's like to live there from a local's perspective. And we were talking with him a lot about how things have changed, like the fishing industry over the years and since GPS, like, are you pulling out as many fish as you used to? And um, are the harvests the same? And what species are you seeing more than usual? Like, it was just awesome to harvest all that information. And so we really enjoyed getting to know this gentleman. We exchanged his card and information so that when we go down there for an anniversary sometime, we can catch up with him again. Um, and unfortunately, there was another friend of ours, Chris, who lives in Swansea, I think, who we weren't able to have dinner with, but that would have been fun. It's always fun when we're traveling to see who we could see that's in the tribe of Peak Prosperity members, people that have been following Chris's work for a long time. And I mean, it wasn't quite the right time to be socializing and going on like a huge sort of visiting event, because I think the focus, obviously, of our honeymoon was to spend time together. But it's really awesome that wherever we go, there are just fascinating people just around the corner that have all sorts of tips and tricks and data about wherever we are. And um, everybody on the website has been so generous, just offering if we ever want to go somewhere, like, hey, come, we'll put you up at our house. Like, the Peak Prosperity Tribe is amazing. Anybody that's watching this, if you're not a member of Peak Prosperity, I encourage you to go over and check it out. It's a fabulous community of folks. It's a website where people are talking about all sorts of different things. There are forums where you can just discuss whatever's on your mind with other individuals. And in addition to that, you get Chris's alerts and what he thinks about various articles and world events and, special sort of recordings and interviews and things that he can't put out in public because of the censorship that we live with. So, just a side note. And guess what else I saw? I saw so many monarchs. We were blown away. I don't know why they were down there. I don't know if it's part of their migration route. I don't know if it's because the temperatures were different there than here at our farm. It was warmer, of course, being on the coast, but we saw so many monarch and they were just absolutely beautiful, and it was fun to watch them flying. It kind of felt like a sign for us because I've always, as I think I've shared with you before, I've raised them in the past. So it was really exciting to be able to spend time with them and see them again and know that they weren't extinct, which was what I fear. I still am sad that I don't see them on my farm like I used to, but my hope is that they're gonna do okay somehow. And so we ended up getting talked into getting some crabs as bait. And neither of us could bear the idea of like using a crab that was alive and cutting it in half and throwing it on a hook. So we didn't do that. We let them go. But before we were able to do that, they were in like a plastic, the guy put them in a plastic bag, or Cody, the guy at the bait and tackle shop, and we ended up putting them in our fridge in the little cabin. And then somehow they escaped and they were all over the house that we were renting. And so Chris was searching it and like we're digging out, like trying to get this crab out from under the stove, like all sorts of nooks and crannies. There was one in our car. So I think they started escaping before we even got home. And it was hysterical, like just a plastic trash bag. And I think when you keep them cold, they're less active and, they just kind of go to sleep. Anyhow, it was the funniest thing. So this is one that we captured and put in his hat. It's all hairy because it was underneath the refrigerator there. And we just really did not want to leave one of those for, the folks that own the house to come back to. That just would have been unpleasant for everybody. This is funny because I guess people probably come and like harvest these beautiful rocks for like landscaping or something. But I'm a rock addict. I can't stop picking them up. And my idea around that is that someday I want an archaeologist or somebody else to be just totally mystified at why there are all these strange rocks all this far inland, right? Things that shouldn't be here. But Chris is always like, just catch and release, Evie, just catch and release. I'm like, yeah, 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 I will. But it's hard. You find that beautiful rock that just catches your eye. And I just have a love of geology. So this sign was particularly funny. So we decided to take a picture. This was one of the restaurants that we went to. They had a tournament going on there to see who could catch, the biggest, I guess it was like top 3 fish or whatever, and you entered into this contest. And I don't know what you won, but I guess the guy that had the 2 little children that we became friends with at that fishing spot, he had won this tournament in the past. And anyway, so you could see all these fish. It was just fun to see them up close. And this is one of the shad fish that we caught, which it's still alive. We're about to throw it back into the water. But it was just fun to have something on the line and for it to give you a good fight. That's me trying to take a hook out of it, I think. And that's the little girl that I got to know while we were there. Here's a close-up. This is Chris and Evie in their happy place. We had such a good time. It was such a blessing. It truly was a blessing. And what it reminded me of is that no matter what's going on in your life, there are always things that we can't control, that you and I have no say over. And work is one of those things. And we have to do things to make sure we can pay the bills and do what needs doing in this life. And people and things depend on us. And so we can't just shirk those responsibilities. But I'm amazed at how special it was to take time away to focus on somebody whose relationship is really precious to me, whose life is now intertwined with mine, and whose future I want to figure out how to support in the best way that I can. And having this time was just so essential. I was really glad that we took the time to do that and to just really be with all the things that had happened leading up to that beautiful wedding day, and to just let it all sink in and integrate those feelings. And it's still happening. It's, I think, going to take me a little while. I still pinch myself like, really? I can't believe I'm here. Because it's not the way I thought my life was going to be when I was, a younger woman. I had expectations about what my future was supposed to be like. And it turns out that there were little sort of signs and cues that I wasn't meant to do what the rest of the world was happy barreling off into the world doing. Like, a lot of individuals, I think, care about what their peers think and want to sort of be where the group is. And that makes sense because we're wired that way as humans, to be a part of a village or a tribe where it matters what our peers are thinking. Um, and I think both Chris and I were just born with some strange contrarian part of ourselves where we actually don't give a crap about that. And it doesn't really matter to us in a certain way. And so it's perfect that we have each other because we don't seek that sort of social reflection from other people, but we definitely, as introverts, appreciate each other and the quiet that we lend one another without, um, I don't know, there's just no pressure for us to be anything for one another. It's not that way, but we are deeply attuned to each other and supportive of one another um being happy and having our needs fulfilled. And anyway, it just feels so good. I just am like swimming in the blessings really as I reflect on them of that beautiful day. And this was the sunset on the last day we were there. It was just, I don't know, so beautiful. I don't know how to explain it in words. I wish I could share it with you. I wish I could share that breeze that comes off the ocean, that salty breeze that, kind of blows your hair everywhere and you can feel it on your skin and, that slight salty tinge and the scent of the ocean and all the creatures that live in it, the sound of the seagulls crying, the waves crashing. It's just, I don't know, brought me back into my body, brought me back down to earth. And anyhow, I think that if you have an opportunity to focus on somebody in your life that needs your focus, or a relationship maybe that you haven't taken the time to put your direct energy into, um, go do it. Take a weekend, take a day, take an hour even, and let somebody that you really love know how much you care about them, and ask them, if there's anything that you can do to support them and what that support looks like. So I think we're all feeling a little bit alone these days, and it's hard to be walking the path that we have to if we're awake during these crazy times in the world. It's really challenging to know, um, who we can count on. And I know sometimes my world has felt empty. Um, in particular, there were people that weren't at our wedding because over the years we've just come to such great odds with them, and we haven't felt like they've been able to really, respect and appreciate where we've ended up. And so we've just had to sort of let those relationships fall away. And it's been a little bit painful for us as well. But um, I'm going to take my own advice and, reach out to some friends after we're done chatting here. I have so many people that I would like to catch up with, and also so much gratitude to put out in all sorts of directions for all the support and love that we received. But for everyone who's held us in your thoughts over these last few weeks, thank you so much. Thank you for listening to me share my joy, at least about this initial part of our adventure. Thank you for being here today for that. And wherever you are, know that you were born for this time. You were born to live through whatever the chaos or the storm or the stillness or the beauty, everything you're encountering. Nothing is by accident. And it takes courage to stand up and be who you have to be in this world. I know that. And I can appreciate that. And I know there are also so many people who are suffering and can't even put, to like, they have nothing left after the storms that came through recently in the Carolinas and Georgia. And my heart aches for them. And I pray for all those people. And I know that most of us have it so, so good, even if we're stressed and tired and at our wits' end dealing with world events and hearing about all the craziness going on. We really are so fortunate to still have all of our creature comforts and to have our health and Anyhow, I wish you so many blessings until we meet again. And do go out there and hug somebody you love. And yeah, have a great week. I will see you next Thursday.